Japan is about to dump 1.2 trillion in US debt, which will be an unmitigated disaster for US citizens. Why are they doing this? Because they have no choice. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to break it all down for you so you can be ready. First, we're going to take a look at how a massive geopolitical oil shock is forcing Japan to dump billions, if not trillions, in foreign bonds. Second, we're going to look at how the yen's collapse is triggering a catastrophic debt spiral for the US Treasury. And third, we're going to look at the blatant institutional rotation into hard assets designed to leave you holding the bag. Allegedly. My name's Nick. I've been a professional investor and unprofessional trader for 24 years. Before I start, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not an inducement to buy or sell any assets. And most importantly, do not take financial advice from some random dude on YouTube. Let's figure this out together. So Japan is currently the biggest buyer of US debt by far, and they are heading for the exit. And when I say biggest, I mean 1.2 trillion big, because the underlying plumbing of the Japanese economy is severely stressed right now. The Iran war has effectively closed the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, we all know this. We know that oil is spiking over $100 a barrel some days more, some days less, right? But that's a big problem for Japan because it imports almost all of its energy. So this price shock is absolutely destroying their trade balance. At the exact same time, the yen is collapsing, trading at around 158.5 to the dollar, rapidly approaching the 160 red line. That's a red line for the Japanese government. So let me translate what this actually means for you. To defend their currency and survive this energy crisis, Japan has to sell US dollars. And to get those dollars, they have to liquidate their US Treasury holdings. In February alone, Japanese investors dumped 3.42 trillion yen of foreign bonds. That is over like $21 billion in a single month, which is insane. And they are doing this because their own domestic 10-year bond yields just spiked to 2.32%, the highest level since 1999. When Japanese insurers can earn that kind of risk-free yield at home, they dump American debt immediately. They have no reason to hold American debt when they can get the same at home. So the public message and what the smart money is actually doing are two very different things right now. Let's talk about why we've seen this exact same mechanism before. Look at what happened between 2022 and 2023. The Federal Reserve research shows that when foreign nations sold US Treasuries during that period, it added 30 to 40 basis points to the 10-year yield. But back then, the US wasn't staring down at a $39 trillion debt bomb. That's the amount of debt the US has right now, or close to it. The underlying mechanism today is exactly the same, but the stakes are infinitely higher. Today, the US 10-year yield is surging back above 4.4%, and the US has to roll over $9 trillion in maturing debt this year alone. That's a staggering number. If Japan keeps selling, the US has to refinance that massive pile of debt at much higher rates, which guarantees a catastrophic explosion in interest costs. This ties directly into the massive structural deficit that Wall Street is desperately trying to hide from you. The US government is already spending 18.6% of all federal revenue just to pay the interest on its national debt. That is over $520 billion burned in just the first 5 months of this fiscal year. They are perfectly happy to let retail investors buy low-yielding paper bonds while the entire system spirals out of control. And here's where it gets really ugly for anyone who's not paying attention, because Japan isn't alone in this. China has been quietly offloading US Treasuries for over 2 years. They've taken their holdings from 1.1 trillion below 780 billion, and they are not slowing down. So now you have the two largest foreign creditors of the United States both heading for the same exit at the same time, and there's only one door. When the foreign demand for US debt dries up, there are only two options left on the table. Option one, the Federal Reserve steps back in and starts buying treasuries again, which is money printing essentially, which is inflation, which destroys your purchasing power even further. I mean, your purchasing power is down like 50% since 2008. Option two, yields keep climbing until something in the financial system physically breaks. Banks holding long-duration bonds get wiped out, pension funds get wiped out, and the dollar status as the global reserve currency takes another body blow that it can't afford, which is exactly what China, Russia, and the rest of the BRICS nations want. By the way, that's their plan. That's why all of this is happening. Japan doesn't want to help them, but they're kind of being backed into a corner by the Iran war. Either way, the people who get punished are the ones sitting in cash and paper assets pretending that everything is fine. This is exactly why I keep saying the only assets worth holding right now are the ones that they cannot print, they cannot freeze, and they cannot devalue with a keystroke. Gold, silver, hard physical assets outside the system, not paper contract, not leverage bets, not ETFs that promise you exposure to something sitting in a vault that you'll never see and you can never access and you don't even know if it actually exists. The actual metal in your hands, because when the largest buyer of US debt becomes the largest seller, that is not a recession warning. That is a system level event, and it's already started. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.